Trump has signed $8.3 billion bill to combat, well, this thing going on, this bug going on around the world. This voldemort, that which cannot be named or mentioned or thought of or even seen, or any news or information propagated unless you are a multi-billion dollar corporation, according to YouTube. But maybe I should start calling it coronamort. Maybe that's what I'll do, coronamort. Trump signs $8.3 billion deal. I did say before that the original amount was not enough. $8.3 billion, that will help. President Donald Trump on Friday signed an $8.3 billion measure to help tackle the coronamort outbreak that has deleted more than a dozen people in the United States and infected more than 200. Legislation provides federal public health agencies with money for vaccines, tests, and potential treatments, and helps state and local governments prepare and respond to the threat. The rapid spread of the virus, I don't even know if I can say that word, but I did, has rocked financial markets, interrupted travel, and threatens to affect everyday life in the United States. And in fact, in China, it is so bad that the economy there might actually contract for the first time since the 1970s. They did not meet the criteria for that states that it would go forward. It actually shows that they are going to contract their economy. Let's hope that we don't get to that point here as well. That would just be the absolute icing on this shit cake, wouldn't it? Trump had planned to sign the bill during a visit to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta, but he told reporters Friday that concerns were raised about one person who was potentially infected who worked at the CDC. Trump said the person has since tested negative for the new virus, and the CDC was added to his schedule on Friday. The Senate passed the $8.3 billion measure Thursday to help tackle the outbreak, but I like that, to tackle the outbreak in hopes of reassuring a fearful public and accelerating the government's response to the virus. Its rapid spread is threatening to upend everyday life in the U.S. and across the globe. It already has. What do you mean threatening to upend every day? It has already. It has already. I mean, I make personalized, according to your personal survival tactic, whatever plan you have, shelter in place, bug out, settle, whatever, I make personalized survival bags, shelter bags, bug out bags, get home bags, all kinds of different things, and I have sold quite a few of them. I have been pretty busy making them, actually. And I have a few already made, so yeah, it's already made people, but there's nothing wrong with being prepared, but it's already disrupted regular life. People are not thinking regularly. Thursday's sweeping 96-1 vote sends the bill to the White House for President Donald Trump's signature. Senator Rand Paul cast the sole no vote. The House passed the bill Wednesday by a 415-2 vote. Now I wonder what the explanation for them for not voting, for voting no for. Was it not enough money? Did they want more? Did they not think that the money would help at all? I mean, obviously, we live in a world where if there's a big problem, what do? You throw money at it. That's how you solve everything. Interesting. I wonder why they voted no. The plan would more than triple the $2.5 billion amount outlined by the White House 10 days ago. And when I heard $2.5 billion, I said, no. I said that was not enough. I don't believe that that would be enough. I don't. Not nationwide. The Trump proposal was immediately discarded by members of Congress from both parties. Instead, the bipartisan leadership of the House and Senate Appropriations Committee negotiated the increased figure and other provisions of the legislation in a burst of bipartisan cooperation that's common on the panel but increasingly rare elsewhere in Washington. Yeah, and that's what we need is more bipartisanship, more people that, yeah, okay, maybe I associate with this party, but you know what I associate more with? Better policies and the American people and things that'll help the American people. You know what I associate with? Things that sound ludicrous. That's what we should have. In situations like this, I believe no expense should be spared to protect the American people. And in crafting this package, none was, said Appropriations Committee Chairman Richard Shelby. It's an aggressive plan, a vigorous plan that has received an overwhelming positive reaction. And yeah, I think that will be enough. I didn't think the 2.5 billion was enough. I am interested though in why the two dissenting opinions voted no. That I would be interested in why they voted no. Trump was sure to sign the measure, which has almost universal support. It is intended to project confidence and calm as anxiety builds over the impact of the virus, which has claimed more than a dozen lives in the United States. And yes, you don't want people to panic. You don't want the economy to tank. You want people to have confidence that you are doing everything you can and that you are handling it. Because if you don't, number one, confidence tanks. Two, confidence in the government. Two, confidence in the economy tanks and people pull out of banks. They sell their stocks, things like that. The American people are looking for leadership and want assurance that their government is up to the task of protecting their health and safety. The impact of outbreak continues to mount. The British government is considering suspending Parliament for 5 months in hopes of limiting the spread of the virus in the United Kingdom. And Washington state schools have actually closed. That is a good measure. They have been hit the hardest. They need to try to nip it in the bud. To the individuals that I know personally up in Washington that I talk to, talk to me, what's going on. I haven't talked to you guys in a few days. I sent you a text and I haven't heard from you. I'm curious. You're my boots on the ground, guys. I hope you're okay. The legislation will provide federal public health agencies money for vaccines, tests, and potential treatments, including $300 million to deliver such drugs to those who need it. More than $2 billion would go to help federal, state, and local governments prepare and respond to the coronamort threat. An additional $1.3 billion would be used to help fight the virus overseas. There's also funding to subsidize $7 billion in small business loans. Like a stimulus almost. And an infectious stimulus packet, maybe. Other dollars would be directed to help officials prepare for the potential worsening of the outbreak and subsidize treatment by community health centers. Now that sounds like a good plan. It is a multi-pronged plan, an attack coming from different ways. Treatment, some money set aside for if it gets worse, and then also money to help stop it as well. Medicare rules would be loosened to enable remote telehealth consultations whereby sick people could get treatment without visiting a doctor. And several videos ago, God, it feels like years with as much as I battle YouTube over this. Several videos ago, I had mentioned that it's serious when they start loosening laws, loosening regulations, and you start doing teleconferences with health, teleconferences with school. That's when you know it's starting to get to a serious point. Maria Cantwell, Washington, whose state is at the center of the crisis, praised the bill because it will increase access for public lab testing, help pay for isolation and quarantine, help pay for sanitizing in public areas, better track the virus and those who might come into contact with it, help labs who are trying to identify hotspots, and limit exposure, which it will. And it's about time. We should have thrown everything we had at it when it first came out. It was downplayed. Even I kind of downplayed it a little bit. I figured it would hit, but I didn't think it would get big. Then the numbers just kept changing. Then the fatality rate. And now it's the point where it's like, wow, okay. Democrats said other steps may be needed if the outbreak continues to work. And other steps are going to be needed. You're too short-sighted. Other steps are going to be needed as new needs pop up. This is a new thing for us. We haven't had something like this in generations. This may be a first step because we have issues that relate to unemployment insurance for people who are put out of work, Pelosi said as she signed the bill and sent it to Trump. Now, how are you going to handle that if it does break out en masse, and lots of people are out of work and they obviously can't pay their bills? What do? Do we have a suspension where for this period of time when it was being hardest hit, you don't owe your bills? Because I don't know how do we do this? We have only about 27% of people in this country who have paid sick days. So if they have to go home, what is going to happen to them and their families? It's a good question. That is a very, very good question. The bill seeks to restore $136 million that the Department of Health and Human Services cut from other accounts such as heating subsidies for the poor to battle the virus. Yeah. Are you poor? Are you freezing? Yeah, screw you. we're going to take the money away from you. Well, that's harsh. The legislation comes as carping over the administration's response to the outbreak. Carping? Really? The legislation comes as carping over the administration's response to the outbreak is quieting down. Lawmakers in both parties had faulted a shortage of tests for the virus and contrasting messages from Trump and his subordinates. Yeah. And finally, it does look like a lot of good, valid tests are going out. I know my state, New Mexico, has quite a few, 200,000 tests, each test capable of testing 187 people, each kit capable of testing 187 people. So New Mexico is definitely geared up, but New Mexico is going to be a hub. It's going to be testing nationally for this thing. In an interview with Sean Hannity at Fox News on Wednesday, Trump downplayed the lethality of the virus, saying the World Health Organization's updated estimate of a 3.4% deletion rate on coronamort cases is a false number. No, I don't believe it is. I don't believe it is, Trump. Now you're starting to see rapid deployment of tests, which makes me feel better, quite honestly, said Representative Paul Ruiz, a doctor. I think their communications are a little better. As long as the president doesn't contradict the experts and the scientists who know what they're doing, things will get better. Now, how do I propagate this video? How do I get people to see it without YouTube slamming it? I don't know. Coronamort, that which cannot be named. Come on, YouTube. You're going on the wrong side of history. You're going on the side of history that's going to say you were censoring it and you stopped information from being spread. Pull your heads out of your ass, YouTube. Anyways, that's what I got for you on this one. I love you guys, and I will see you on the next one. You guys take care. You guys stay informed. I'll see you on the next one.